Alright everyone, what's up? It's your pal Revelator here to bring you yet another video about my current whereabouts. Just continuing off the live stream that I did yesterday. To those of you who do not know what that was about, or if you don't know me, I am someone who's been on YouTube for the past 10 years and has tried different forms of content. But as I've matured, as I've grown up, my tastes have changed and some of the topics that I would want to cover on my channel. So, in this video, I'm going to cover something a bit different. I'm going to talk about those whereabouts that I alluded to in the live stream and how those got in the way of being on YouTube. So, here I'd like to talk about my adventures overseas because this also got in the way of being a YouTuber for 3 years. As much as I wanted to blog about my travels, I just didn't think to do it on YouTube at the time, and I was just caught up in the fun. So, around 3 years ago, I had gone on a trip to Ireland after I graduated from university back in spring of 2021. My family gave me the surprise graduation gift of a tour over Ireland, in which I had gone over to Dublin first for 2 days, saw the cathedral, saw the Dublin Bridge and the river leading out to the ocean, and of course, I saw the Guinness Brewery, the beer factory. All of which is cool. I love the transportation system, the tram system that's there, and the train system that could take you place to place. Pretty fun, good food overall, and a lot to explore for 2 days' time, but in my opinion, it's just not worth staying there for longer than that. After which, I'd gone over to the small town of Killarney, which was a breath of fresh air. The countryside around it was amazing. I love the stags, love the foxes, love the beautiful forests, etc. It was almost like living in a fantasy world. Then you enter the town of Killarney, and you literally, speaking of fantasy, are introduced to this Hobbit / Lord of the Rings themed restaurant, which had great food and also a great band for live music. It's amazing. Me and the other tourists had a great time. I could picture myself living there if not for the lots of the rules and regulations in the EU. But pretty fun time overall. Managed to go over to the cliffside and see those islands on which there's the last bit of the population that speaks Gaelic. And then, of course, I went all the way to Galway, which is a fun party town as well. I didn't get to see Donegal Ireland, though, unfortunately. But I got to see the rest of Ireland, which was pretty fun. Overall, though, this little Ireland adventure was just for 10 days, and I still don't think it compares to the greatness that came afterwards. Poland, Slovakia, Ukraine, all those were leaps and bounds better. In which those were the places I was supposed to go to first anyway, but code restrictions blocked me from going there that year, at least initially. Because after I went to Ireland, I soon after went over to Poland, to a small city of Rzeszów, which has been growing enormously over the past 3 years alone. It's just shocking. And Rzeszów, Poland, didn't really impress me too much, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, it's a small city, but well, it has been economically growing. It definitely has been growing well in the other areas. And I will talk more about this later another time if you all want to hear about it. I'll put a community post up asking if you'll want to hear more about this content or if you want to hear more philosophical and political content, which I did mention that I was going to cover eventually anyway, I'll let you decide. But we're getting off track here. So during this time period of my whereabouts, it was 2021, and I went over to Ukraine, to Lviv. And I couldn't help but think I should have gone to Krakow first and then to Lviv, but ended up being backwards. It worked out either way. And really, during this during this time period in the fall of 2021, I was thinking, shit, maybe I should stay in Lviv because it's so damn fantastic. Everything about it gave me that old school European vibe. It wasn't extremely modern, it was modernizing for sure, but at the same time, it was not yet fully westernized, and the people there were just so much more welcoming, warmer, more hospitable. And I love that about the city. And my only regret was that I left too soon. And that I should have stayed there, just packed all my shit, and gone all the way back to Lviv from Jeshuv. Because what I had done during this time period is that I actually moved from the United States to Europe. My mistake, in my opinion, at this time was staying in Poland instead of picking a different country. Again, more on this later in a different video. Still, Lviv was probably the best part of the adventure in 2021. I loved everything about it. The tram system is outdated. At least it was a bit more outdated trams. And they have a subpar train system. But at the same time, the trains in Ukraine, at least you have a bed to sleep on, whereas you go to Poland, you don't have that. The expat community was a mixed bag. And as for the nature scene, the environment scene, better than any other country I've ever seen. The only one that comes close to it are on part of Slovakia. And I only went there in the next year. But Lviv, top notch. And as I've already mentioned, I ended up going back to Poland to the expat community over there, and of course I got in touch with locals there. But I always had this feeling of emptiness at the times, like, damn, did I really screw up by leaving Ukraine? Something that haunts me to this day. Long story short, I went to Krakow pretty soon after that, after spending a couple months in Jeshu, because there was really nothing in that city, and I didn't really do much besides just tutoring online and becoming an English teacher over in Krakow. And there were there were a lot of twists and turns. There were new people I met, and of course I did go on a lot of other adventures. But most of the adventures that I had in Krakow were very small, and the adventures I had in Poland were outside of Krakow. So during the time I lived in Krakow, which was from 2022 all the way to the beginning of 2023, it's not that much happened. I basically made my friends, established my roots there. The war in Ukraine happened, in which you have a whole lot of refugees going to Krakow, which was crazy. But again, it didn't really affect me and my friends that much. So because I got affiliated with this community in Krakow that had a lot of ties to Ukrainians, that it really became a big deal for me. What did happen that was related to the wars when I went on a train to Warsaw, and I saw a whole lot of refugees on the train, and of course, at the train station in Warsaw, there was a whole refugee camp. But again, I don't know. I don't feel like I should address this in this video because it deserves a video all to itself. But that's the current rundown of some of my whereabouts that have happened. And for the next year and a half, I was in Poland, Slovakia, and Ukraine. And I'll be glad to tell you more about this in due time, maybe in the next video. But for now, I have to get going. So it is good to see you all again, and hopefully you all will catch me in the next video. So for now, we're later out.